So there are many trends out there that are meant to essentially, lure in or bring in men who are interested in purchasing subscription-based or pay-per-view based sexual content, whether it's OnlyFans or Fansly or one of many other sites that are available for that sort of thing. And most of the internet is essentially a front door, a gateway to that sort of thing. Obviously, like probably 99% of other men who use social media, I enjoy scrolling through Instagram or Twitter or TikTok and seeing all of the interesting reels and shorts, etc. And there always will be, there's dances and there's certain weird little physical trends or music trends that these girls will do, but there's one that actually bothers me, because none of that bothers me. I don't care. Besides the fact that I enjoy seeing it when it pops up on my feed, I just don't care. It's not something that concerns me. But what I have seen is there's a new one, and when I say new, within the last couple years or so, but just now I'm wanting to comment on it. I call it like an affirmation trend, I suppose. You will see these Instagram accounts, for instance, where you'll scroll through, reels will pop up, and it'll be some incredibly attractive girl. And she's usually showing off part of her body. But instead of it just being something where she tries to tempt you with her ginormous knockers or with her great rear end or whatever it is, those things are there, but she will use affirmation. She'll try to make you feel good. They try to make you feel the things that you don't normally get to feel. Hear the things you don't normally get to hear. Hey, I just want you to know you're doing great today. Or hey, if nobody's told you this, you're amazing. Or you deserve to know that you're loved, or blah, 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 blah. It's an infinite variety of these things. And I think it really kind of goes to the core of the things that really get men. Obviously, we want to see a nice set of tits. Obviously, we want to see a nice skinny girl, whatever it is. That's the visual aspect. But we get flooded with that everywhere. For free. You don't have to pay for it, right? And of course, many men pay for things beyond that. That's fine. That's your business. I don't care. There's so many of these things I have to make sure I say, I don't care. The part that I care about is this part. It's that emotional manipulation. The fact that that is what's missing in the majority of these guys' lives, and you're essentially exploiting that. I'm going to make you feel good in this emotional way to make you come pay for these other things. And then that might even be part of the service as well. I don't know, I haven't actually paid for any of that stuff. But that might be part of that service as well. And it's kind of sad, because far worse than any of the other surface level physical things that are shown or exhibited or whatever, it's the fact that, this is a real problem. The fact that you can sell a subscription or sell a pay-per-view or whatever it is, or even just gain new followers to an account like that, because that's what you're exploiting. There's a lot of guys out there that are hurting because they never hear these things genuinely from somebody. And I'm not talking about their guy friends or their bros or whatever. You get the support you need from your friends or whatever. That's not what the majority want. That's not what they're missing. They're missing a female companion to tell them things are okay, to tell them that they are cared about, to tell them that they are liked. That's the crazy thing. Your best friends like you. You wouldn't have these dudes around, however many it is, this handful of guys that are your best friends and have been there for you through all this crap. They're the first to call you out on your bull crap or whatever it is. You wouldn't have those guys around for 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever it is, if they didn't care, if you guys weren't cool, if you didn't love each other, right? But it's that other thing that's missing from probably the majority of men's lives. And the fact that that's being exploited, I don't know. What is it the girls like to say? Just gives me the ick. So this episode is a couple weeks late on the subject, but Oblivion Remaster came out, and obviously you all know that. Huge hit. Everybody started playing it and reliving the glory days, I guess, of the Xbox 360, the PS3, and, of course, Elder Scrolls in general. I have kind of always felt that Oblivion was the better RPG, the better game, better lore, better story, just in general the better game than Skyrim. However, Skyrim was newer. And not just, it's new. It obviously had great graphics. It looked really good at the time, and it's been improved over the years officially. I'm not even talking about mods. Even beyond that, in official releases, it's been improved many times. And had all the quality of life aspects. That like it was easier to play. And so I think that's why Skyrim became so huge and had such a long runway, like such a long afterlife compared to Oblivion. Now, of course, anytime you have the next game in a series, there's going to be kind of a cutoff point for it. But with these RPGs in particular, they have long shelf lives. People will go back and replay them endlessly, especially PC players, because of mods. They seem to latch onto a single game and just modify it many, many, many times and never move on to anything new and interesting, but whatever. The point is, these are great games that are worth replaying even in their vanilla form. Not even counting the fact that you can essentially go turn them into completely different games using mods. So it's kind of crazy though to have Oblivion remastered with graphics that far exceed Skyrim, and to be modernized with new quality of life, new systems for leveling, just general improvements to gameplay kind of across the board, and the overall experience being improved in such a way that this is like a brand new game. Remaster really doesn't... I think it was actually one of the developers for the original version of Oblivion that said Remaster really doesn't do it justice. It's almost like a remake. The graphics... The entire visual aspect are essentially redone in Unreal Engine 5. The underlying logic and processing apparently is still in the original engine. So that's good. The game operates like it was supposed to. But again, fresh coat of paint, yes, but it goes well beyond that too. It's been incredible to go back to, and I haven't even dived into it super, super hardcore like many people have, but it feels so familiar while also being brand new. And it brings you back to an era of gaming that just... I feel like we say this too much, but sometimes it's true. In this case, it was just so much better. I have not had an RPG come out in recent years. I don't know if you would consider Monster Hunter, Monster Hunter Wilds, an RPG like that, but it's a very different formula, if anything, of an RPG. But in this kind of style, this medieval fantasy RPG, nothing really touches Elder Scrolls, or in particular Oblivion, in my opinion. And I feel like this one's going to have a pretty long runway, except for, of course, the release of Elder Scrolls 6 that is on the way. But if you haven't given it a try, if you have Xbox Game Pass or PC Game Pass, I believe is on there as well, you should definitely try out Oblivion Remaster, or even purchase it. I think that if it wasn't on Game Pass, I would probably end up buying it. It's that good. It's $50. So I actually, no, now that I think about it, I have it on Game Pass, but I bought it for one of my brothers so that they could have it on PC. So just glad to have that back around, and it's been a lot of fun. And I've done a little bit of streaming of it. I might actually do some more on Twitch when I want to spend a whole day or a night playing it. But good, chill fun, really great RPG. If you never had the opportunity to play it in the past, it's worth it. If you did play it in the past, well, it's worth it to play it again, because it loses all that clunkiness and chugginess and just everything that made it less playable than its successor with Skyrim. It's now more playable than Skyrim, and it runs fantastic. So that's all I want to say about that. Try Oblivion Remaster, it's awesome. All headlines are clickbait. I know I've talked about a similar subject before, but I swear, you cannot scroll anything. It doesn't matter if it's Google, MSN, wherever your personal feed is on your browser, Facebook, Twitter, it doesn't matter. Every single headline, there's not a single one I see that is not clickbait. Even the science one. And that's really disappointing because there's probably 2 or 3 major subjects that I will legitimately go and just search news articles on. It's something to do with space, like quantum physics or space sciences. Something to do with video games. Although I do get to see a lot of the actual stuff on that on like Twitter, but I'll get to that in a second. So usually that would be like an Xbox search or something like that, just to see what the latest trending articles or whatever that have come out. See if there's news on a rumor. I used to do that a lot. Like 5-6 times a day, I would just open up Bing. Yes, I use Bing. I cannot stand Google or anything else. But I would just open up Bing, and there were multiple searches I would do, and click on the news section to see what articles were out. It'd be like Xbox. It'd be like some term having to do with, like I said, space sciences or quantum physics or whatever. And then possibly something about sports. Maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars or Boise State Broncos, whatever it is. And I've just gotten to a point where I just don't do any of that anymore. Like, at all. Because there's nothing that appears anymore that's not clickbait. Science is actually some of the worst. It'll be like, scientists give dire warning about asteroid in 2030 or some crap like that, right? And you're like, what? Why did I hear about this? This is crazy. Well, probably because you did. Multiple times. You heard about an asteroid that was on a course where it had like a 1.2% chance of collision with the Earth, etc. And then, it had jumped up. And then, as soon as they gathered more data, that risk basically went to 0. And now there's a semi-decent risk that it could hit the moon. But that would be cool because we could actually observe that and stuff. But all that information I got from watching specific YouTubers that put out that info. Actually, I've criticized him before for certain things, but Anton Petrov on YouTube is one of the best. But that's just one example. We're not talking about all the other things that actually bring in money for clicks, right? Entertainment stuff, sports, politics, etc. And it's just gotten to a point where there is you're gonna need to find very specific sources or a kind of a crowdsource your information. This sounds a little weird, but if you're on Twitter and you're somebody that is discerning at all, you can actually watch multiple different accounts and subject feeds and stuff and get an actual idea of what's going on in the world. That sounds like there's work involved and using your own brain, but that's how it always has been or should have been. There was just kind of a golden era, it feels like, of internet where you could actually search things or there'd be headlines that actually told you something and you could click on it and read it. And again, this isn't new. It's just what I'm commenting on now, but particularly because it's not like it was before. There would be clickbait headlines, and those would kind of be called out, and then you would go to the actual headlines for things, or go read articles, or whatever, or go to a certain website. But now every single website, every single subject, no matter what it is, it's all clickbait. That's all it is. Information on the internet is it's really hard to come by anything that's real or genuine unless you use your brain. That's the thing, is it's not that hard if you just use your brain a little bit. It takes 10 extra seconds of computing power, usage to actually discover the truth about something or get a better idea about something. But we became so reliant on curated feeds bringing us the information. There's so many times I will be talking to somebody about something in real life, and they got their info about a game from just some random post on a forum or something like that. I don't know. Oblivion is actually an example of this. A friend of mine said all this stuff about the Oblivion remaster, negative stuff about how Bethesda had bought out the mod makers that were making Oblivion, and it kind of ruined everything for everybody, and now they use that to make this, and it's not as good, and blah, blah, blah. Absolute fiction. Like 100% fiction. That Oblivion is still happening. They're still making that. The guy who's making it is, of course, if you're making something like that, you're a fan of Elder Scrolls. You're probably a Bethesda fan. That's what people that follow these things and get really passionate about it forget. They think that like somehow it's like the community versus the developer. And it's like, no. The fact that Bethesda is allowing this to occur should tell you it's not. But that person who's making that has to be a pretty passionate Elder Scrolls fan to dedicate that time and energy to make something like that. And it's still happening. Nothing changed by Elder Scrolls occurring. There was no purchasing. There was no canceling. There was no using that to make this. Completely separate project that they did officially on their own and took years for them to make. That's the kind of thing that bothers me. Somebody will see like some stupid headline somewhere or some stupid post on social media or a forum or whatever, and they will form their entire opinion about something based on that. It's kind of mind-boggling. So just take a little extra time to investigate these things. There's a lot of sensationalism out there.